Afternoon, everybody. I'm going to give a brief little talk this afternoon on cues and how to use cues to help us on our journey to health. Oftentimes the food industry uses cues to get us to have bad behaviors, eating the things we shouldn't, overeating, and everywhere we look, there are cues that stimulate us to often do the wrong things. And so I'm going to make a few suggestions on some cues that we can maybe use to help us stay healthy. And there's several varieties. So one example would be written cues, and an example of a written cue would be having a book or a notebook that you keep around, maybe next to your bed, maybe on the coffee table in the living room, where you jot down things you're doing that day or things that you have done, exercise that you accomplished, or just writing down what you're eating all that day, but just something that reminds you, that book sitting there reminds you that you are on this health journey and that you're keeping tabs of what you're doing. And just writing something in there can be very powerful. Then there's also some visual cues, and some of the best visual cues are photographs. If you have a before photograph, oftentimes I've had people that they saw a picture of themselves and it suddenly prompted them to action to do something about their health or about their weight because they saw themselves in that picture and they didn't realize they looked that way. So having a picture like that somewhere where you can look at it is, if that's a positive, if that's a good cue for you to stay on track, having that picture present. Or the other thing is having photographs of things you did in the past when you were healthier, let's say, and were able to do certain things, whether that's hiking or biking, or even pictures of things that you want to end up doing that currently because of your health you're not able to, but that is a goal of yours, is to be able to ride that bike or to go on a hike or to do a 3-mile run or whatever it is. But a picture of that image for you to look at can be very powerful. There's also verbal cues that can be helpful. And if you have a close friend or spouse or somebody who, when you're about to stray, you have told them that you want them to give you a cue that, no, this what you're about to do isn't what you told me you want to do in your health interest. And again, that has to be done politically correct and has to be done in love and not in spite, let's say. But having a good friend or spouse that could help you with some verbal cues when you're about to get off target can also be helpful. Musical cues can be very helpful, whether it's listening to music on your MP3 player while you're exercising. I often have certain music and certain albums that I either associate with doing fun things in the past that will remind me of those healthy things I did at one point in time, or the music can also be helpful to energize me if I'm having kind of a low day and I don't feel like doing anything. I can put on some classic rock and I can be motivated and get back into doing some things I know would be healthy for me, whether that's exercise or staying true to my health journey, etc. There are some tactile cues, and I think of material when I think of tactile. And so like having some clothes that you hadn't been able to get into for a while, having those set out where you can look at them and know you are heading towards being able to get back into those clothes again. And of course, the opposite of that is if you've had clothes you've grown out of, or shrunk out of, I should say, get rid of those clothes and don't have them around anymore. Also, things like having an outfit that is a nice running shoes, a nice exercise outfit, so that when you put that on, you really feel like you are an exerciser, and you feel like it becomes part of you and it motivates you to be healthy. Whereas if you just put on some an old t-shirt and some crummy old shorts and crummy old shoes, it may not have the same positive effect on your psyche as having something nice that really makes you feel the part and keeps you motivated to be a long-term healthy, active person. Social cues can be one of the biggest things. In social cues, I mean by hanging out with people that have your same interest, which in this case are health, eating healthy, exercise. And so hanging out with people that want, when they get together and do something fun, they may go on a walk, they may go on a bike ride. They're not necessarily going for pizza and beer every time. And not that there's anything wrong with having pizza and beer, but not on an ongoing basis. So you want to be hanging out with people who have similar goals as you do of focusing on health and everything that goes into play. You know, there's lots of studies, including a very famous Harvard study, that showed you are who you hang out with and you become who you hang out with. And they followed a group of like 10,000 people for 10 years. And what happened is, even if you started off slim, if you started to hang out with people that are overweight, you became overweight. If you're initially a non-smoker and started to hang out with people that smoked, you became a smoker. And so we need to choose our social groups, and so social cues are very important in helping us maintain our weight. And finally, digital and kind of scheduling cues, and we can use our phone, our computer, our iPad for this very effectively, is to put in things there to remind you of the things you're going to do for your health, whether that's eating 6 times a day, whether that's remind you to eat your meal replacements every 3 hours, whether that is to remind yourself at 6 o'clock I am going to go on a walk and my phone is going to beep to remind me to do that, because sometimes it's just that little bit of a reminder that will push us to go get that done versus kind of letting it slide by. But schedule things on your phone to remind you of all the things you're going to do to stay healthy. And maybe even schedule things to remind you to not do things that you might fall prey to doing, and remind you to watch out for this. Let's say you're going to somebody's house that evening, write yourself a little note on your phone that will beep you that says stay out of the goodies, remember you're staying healthy, or just something like that. But that's a powerful tool we can use as long as we use it to maintain our health. So those are just a few cues, different types of cues we can use, written, visual, verbal, music cues, using our technology to cue us, and social cues are all important ways for us to integrate our daily activities to continue on our walk towards health. Thanks a lot.